the centre, run by Appius Claudius on the Romans, decided he was going to rush forward with the bulk of the Roman first line to impact the Carthaginians, and somehow he managed to do it, impacting and getting rid of all the Carthaginian skirmishers, but he did suffer a lot of unit losses. So here we are on the left flank of the Carthaginians, and we've got Hannibal, who's just engaging at the top with the Carthaginian cavalry, facing the Roman cavalry of Paulus. That's at the moment, Paulus is still hanging on. And then over here we have the remains of the Carthaginian cavalry who have yet to be engaged. We have the column of Libyan veterans, imitation legionaries, and then going around we have the Carthaginian line, which is a mix of veteran Gallic war bands and Spanish scutari. And then, as you can see, the remains of the Roman front line, which were all 3 deep, still engaged with the Carthaginians in the centre. To be fair, the Romans have suffered a bloody nose in a big way. However, they have also caused some casualties to the Carthaginians, and as you can see in the distance behind all the Roman skirmishers that are still alive and well, there is the Roman second line advancing, which was almost as big as the front line. So carrying on round, we have we got Hannibal here, his brother Mago. They fought like lions yesterday, inspiring their men, and then yeah, as you can see, the Romans have been quite heavily pushed back or halted, as I've said. Coming around, we've got Mago's command. We've got some Carthaginian Libyan dudes and imitation legionaries, and then you have the Numidian cavalry run by Hannibal, who saw off Varro. So Varro's command was pretty much decimated within the first hour or so. Varro luckily escaped and has rejoined the Roman line. So from the Roman left flank, as I've just said, there is no cavalry left. All the cavalry that Varro Terentius had has been run off or destroyed. There is Varro. He managed to make it back to the Roman lines and is currently in a position of joining the centre, which is Flavius, run by Flavius, and then you can see this Roman third line, which is run by Martius. Varro is actually the Roman CNC, so it's lucky that he actually managed to escape the slaughter of his men. Otherwise, it could have had a nasty morale effect on the Romans. So although the front line of the Romans is looking rather shaky, you have got the mass column of the second line advancing, and then you've got the thinner rear line of the Romans still advancing. And as I've said at the start, somehow Paulus Emilius on the far Roman right flank is still managing to hold Hasdrubal on the right flank. So I don't think Hasdrubal at the moment is going to be able to do his famous manoeuvre. So hopefully that gives you an overview. Yeah, and we'll see what today brings. So thank you very much.
In Apulia, across the plain of the Aufidius river, a warm wind of Volturno blew heat and dust into the faces of some 80,000 men of the Roman and allied legions. Arrayed in a series of maniples, their task was simple: to tear the 40,000 strong army of Hannibal apart and destroy it. The Proconsul Servilius Geminius, commanding the leading 32 maniples, ordered the advance. His attack went forward at a near jogging pace, kicking up even more dust, the legionaries shouting their war cries and rhythmically banging their shields with their javelins. They briefly paused to allow their light infantry who had barely engaged the enemy to pass through their ranks, and the leading ranks threw their pila and at great pace charged home. The Carthaginian centre, arrayed in a crescent formation, was rapidly forced back and flattened out by this colossal human sledgehammer, a ferocious hand-to-hand fighting, then extending all along the line. The Roman push forward was relentless, but the Celtic and Iberian infantry, steeled by the presence of Hannibal and his brother Mago, fought with a determined fervour to contain the Roman onslaught on the Carthaginian centre. Hannibal's centre was folding, but another 28 Roman maniples, commanded by the Tribunes Flavius and Scipio, were moving forward to throw their weight of human flesh and steel into the viscous mass brawl. Much now depended on Hannibal's cavalry, and on the left wing, General Hannibal and his Iberian and Celtic cavalry fought a series of combats with the Roman cavalry commanded by Consul Paulus, slowly driving the Romans back. A final mass charge by the Carthaginian horse decided the issue. Among the many Roman fallen was Paulus, the survivors routed from the battlefield. The Numidian horse, stationed on Hannibal's right wing, were charged by the Roman allied cavalry commanded by Consul Varro, but the Numidians, led by General Hannibal, countercharged, tearing into their opponents with their usual zeal. The allied cavalry fought bravely, but proved no match for the fearless Numidians, and they were rapidly defeated and chased off the field. Varro rode to join the proconsul Minucius Rufus at the rear of the massed Roman infantry in the centre. Once there, Varro and Rufus immediately ordered the 12 rearmost maniples to redeploy to the right and the left, with all haste to counter a threat to both their flanks. Hannibal's Libby Phoenician heavy infantry, deployed in reserve at each end of his infantry centre, were now advancing forward as now the Numidians and Hasdrubal's cavalry were rallying to exploit the Roman flanks. In the centre, the Carthaginian line, under the most intense pressure, was still holding and was given brief pause when Geminius' battered and exhausted command pulled back. The shattered remains of Geminius' maniples passed through those of the Tribunes Flavius and Scipio, and their fresh maniples delivered another shower of peeling, and then slammed home. The Celtic and Iberian warriors, their ranks thinning and nearing exhaustion themselves, visibly began to buckle and then break apart. The dead and the dying of the antagonists now littered the ground after such a savage contest, and the inexorable Roman push forward could no longer be contained. Mago, extorting the last of his warriors round him to hold, was killed in the press. Hannibal's centre was torn wide open soon after. Hannibal rode to join his advancing Libby Phoenician infantry on his left, escaping the rush of fugitives from his broken centre. The Roman maniples of the tribunes continued their exalted advance forward to escape the Carthaginian forces on each flank, butchering any of the unfortunate enemy fallen before them as they went. Mahabal's Numidians engaged the Roman left rear under Vara and were joined by the Lydi Phoenician heavy infantry and warriors who had bypassed the Roman breakthrough in the centre. To the Roman right, Hannibal brought forward the rest of his heavy infantry along with a large contingent of Celtic and Iberian warriors who had also bypassed the victorious Roman centre. Hasdrubal and his cavalry attempted to break the Roman right rear, but Varro and Rufus, both with 6 maniples, after further desperate fighting, fought this last gasp Carthaginian attempt to break the Roman flanks to a standstill. Like 2 heavyweight boxers, both armies were now on the ropes, punch-drunk and exhausted, and the battle petered out.
Okay, cool. Well, Cannae has come to an amazing conclusion, shall we say. On the last turn of the game, Hannibal's command broke. Since the last update as well, when we first started, Mago Barca was killed, which caused a bit of consternation amongst his troops, but they fought on bravely, but ultimately not enough to prevent Flavius's command from heading towards Naples, which you can see here. He's still got a load of legions who are pushing forward to escape. The 2 cavalry wings of the Carthaginians by Mahabal on the right and Hasdrubal on the left are still active, but they've still taken over 50% casualties themselves, so they aren't really in a fit state to the absolute outcome of the game ended up, believe it or not, in an honourable draw, because it was literally fought to a standstill. So as you can see, Flavius's command is pushing on, heading towards Naples to get away, but Hannibal then having broken, his troops are moving off, and it will end up being the Numidians and the other wing of cavalry by Hasdrubal shielding the remnants of Hannibal's forces, and both sides will end up licking their wounds, and there will be a fictional follow-up game likely to be set in Africa. So that's to follow. But yeah, it's been great fun, good sports all round, some cracking die rolling. Everyone's knackered because it's been non-stop action. And yeah, this is Cannae 2025 brought to a fabulous conclusion. Thank you.